Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday indeed. No Zoom issues on the teacher end anyway. I know some kids kept getting kicked out for one reason or another, but they were always able to find their way back, which is fabulous. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about rounding. Rounding can be a challenging concept for students to understand because it is so abstract. We're going to review it again tomorrow on Friday, and we will be doing another activity with it and then a quiz to go along. So hopefully, if your student has any questions, they can follow along with me right now. So when we round, let me get just a quick, I'll do a simple type of a number. 7,314. When we talk about rounding, if I were to round this number to the greatest place, which would be the thousands place, the first thing students have to consider is the range, meaning what two numbers is this number in between? What two thousands is it between? So for this number, we would say it's between 7,000 and 8,000. If you round down, it would round down to 7,000. If you round up, it rounds up to 8,000. So we talked about the range, and that's one of the first steps to understanding rounding. The next thing we talked about is something called a halfway number, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the number halfway between the two numbers in the range that you're looking at. For this one, it would be 7,500. And then anything before the halfway number gets rounded down. The halfway number or greater would get rounded up. So for this number, if we're rounding to the nearest thousand, I'd place this on the number line somewhere around here. I just know it's less than the halfway number. Since it's less than the halfway number, it would get rounded down to 7,000. So this talks about the number line, finding a range, using the halfway number to help you round. Now, there are some little rhymes that have been passed down generation after generation of teachers and things. 5 or more, up the score. 4 or less, same is best. It's the same concept and idea. Whatever works for your child is what I want them to do. All right. The tricky part with rounding sometimes comes when we're not rounding to the greatest place. So, for example, if I wanted to round to the nearest 10 on this one, my range would be different. If I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I have to think what two groups of 10 is this number between? Now, a common mistake right here would be for kids to say it's between 10 and 20 because they're forgetting about these first two digits and they're only looking at the 14. But we have to keep in mind the entire number when we're rounding. We're not simply just looking at the value of the underlying digit. So the two numbers that would be our range this time would be 7,310 and 7,320. Since I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I just had to skip count by tens. There's 10 and 20. The halfway number for this one would be 7,315. Our number is one less than the halfway number, so again, we'd round it down. And this time, our answer would be 7,310. The other way that you could show your student in practicing rounding is when you look at the underlined place, you look next door, and here's where the rhyme comes in. 4 or less, same is best. So that means you keep that one the same and everything else turns to zeros. The 7, the 3, and the 1 would remain the same. Now if this had a 5, a 6, a 7, 8, or a 9 in the ones place, then it is the halfway number. And the halfway number or more you'd round up. But using the rhyme, you'd say 5 or more, up the score. So that would mean to add 1 to this underlined place here, and it would round to 7,320. Now the rhymes are old-fashioned and they're all good meaning, and a lot of us learned that way. But the problem sometimes with those things is it doesn't really give them a solid grasp of number sense and understanding why the answers are the correct answers. Memorizing a series of steps or memorizing a little phrase or rhyme is good in the short term, but my goal for your kids is the long-term understanding of number sense. So I hope that little review and reminder about rounding helps your students out, and we'll review it in class tomorrow before we take the quiz.